Hey there, and welcome! Ever feel like everyone's talking about AI, but you're kind of missing the instruction manual? Well, you're in the right place, because we are going to break down the absolute core of what AI is, all in the next 5 minutes.
So let's just dive right in with the biggest question of all. What exactly is artificial intelligence? And forget all the sci-fi movies for a second. Probably the easiest way to wrap your head around it is to put it side by side with something we all know really well, a regular old computer.
So picture this. A traditional computer is like a rigid recipe follower. If you tell it to make a tomato and egg stir-fry, you have to give it these painfully exact instructions, like cut a 200-gram tomato into 8 equal wedges. But if that tomato is, say, 210 grams, the whole system just freezes. It can't adapt at all. But an AI, now that's a whole different story. It's more like a super apprentice. You don't give it a recipe. Instead, you have it taste like 100 different versions of the dish. It starts to get the vibe, the essence of what makes that dish great. It learns the patterns, and it can even improvise. And that right there, that's the game changer. One just follows strict rules. The other actually learns.
So how in the world does this apprentice actually learn? What's going on inside its mind? To get that, we've got to peek inside its brain and see what makes it tick.
All right, so the biggest piece of the puzzle, the absolute heart of it all, is the LLM, or large language model. This is the AI's brain. And trust me, it's large for a reason. I mean, just try to imagine something that has basically read the entire internet. We're talking every book, every article, every website. All that info is what gives it this crazy ability to chat, write, and just understand what we're saying.
But here's the cool part. That massive brain doesn't have to be out there on the internet. You can have what's called a local LLM. It lives right there on the school's own computers, totally offline. And if you work in a school, you know this is a game changer. It's like the ultimate privacy shield for student data. Nothing gets out.
Okay, so how does this brain actually think or read? Well, it chops up everything we give it into these tiny little pieces called tokens. Just think of them as the Legos of language for the AI. Now here's the part that really matters for you. Every single one of these tokens costs a tiny bit of processing power. It's like a microtransaction. So the more tokens you use in your question and in the answer, the more the AI has to think. And that means more time and, more cost.
All right, so we've got a handle on the brain. But how do we actually talk to this apprentice? How do we get it to do stuff? Well, let's open up its toolbox and find out. First up, and this is the big one, is the prompt. That's just a fancy word for the instructions you give it. And this slide pretty much says it all. There's a golden rule with AI. Give it a sloppy, vague note, you're going to get a pretty blah answer back. But if you give it a super detailed, clear set of instructions, whoa, that apprentice suddenly turns into the best assistant you could ever ask for. Okay, but what about facts? We can't have it just making stuff up, right? How do we keep it honest? That's where a tool called RAG comes into play. Honestly, the best way to think about RAG is like giving the AI an open book exam. You hand it a specific document, like your school's handbook, and you tell it, hey, you can only use what's in this book to answer my questions. No outside knowledge allowed. This is hands down the best way to stop it from just making things up. But we can push this even further. See, an AI doesn't just have to talk about doing things, it can actually do them. And that's where something called MCP, or Model Control Protocol, comes in. Just think of it like a universal power adapter or a master key. It lets the AI plug directly into other software, so it can actually go into your school calendar and add an event or open up a spreadsheet and organize it for you. It's pretty wild. Okay, but like any super smart apprentice, this AI is not perfect, not by a long shot. It's got its own weird personality, and it's absolutely crucial that we understand not just what it's good at, but also where it messes up.
And the biggest, #1 flaw you absolutely have to know about is something called hallucination. This is when the AI just makes stuff up, but it says it with so much confidence you'd swear it was true. It's kind of like that apprentice who's too eager to please and would rather invent an answer than admit they don't know. It's not trying to lie exactly, it's just trying to fill in the blanks in its knowledge. But yeah, that makes it super important to double-check its work.
The source material for this explainer had this perfect phrase for it, which basically means speaking total nonsense with a perfectly straight face. I love that. It's the perfect image, right? It sounds so sure of itself, but it could be completely off base. The lesson? Always verify.
But on the flip side, one of its most incredible new talents is what we call multimodal.
It's a fancy word, but all it means is that the AI is getting eyes and ears. So now it's not just about text anymore. It can look at a photo you give it, listen to a sound clip, and understand it all together. It's getting a much richer sense of the world.
Okay, so let's boil this all down. What are the key things you got to walk away with? First, remember that AI is that learning apprentice, not a strict recipe follower. Second, the better your instructions, your prompts, the better your results. Garbage in, garbage out. And third, and this one's huge, you have to verify what it tells you. Always be on the lookout for those hallucinations. If you can just get those 3 things down, you're ready to use this tool in a really powerful way.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Now that you kind of get how its brain works, what tools it has, and even its weird little personality, the real question is, for you, how is your school going to put this super apprentice to work?